From Inwood in New York City, welcome to Inwood Art Works On Air. It's where you meet the musicians, filmmakers, writers, theater makers, and artists of all stripes that make their home what we affectionately call upstate Manhattan. I'm your host, Aaron Sims, and today we welcome multi-hyphenate artist Alexandra de Suze. Alex, as I've known over the years, is a singer, actor, writer who has hosted and performed cabaret. Most recently, her tribute show, Nina and Sarah and Aretha and Alex at the Green Room 42. Directed for festivals, written for storytelling events, and can be seen in the short films What Do I Owe You and Blindsight. Heard on the podcast, Parenting is a Joke, Expired, and What Happened in Skinner. She also has a satire series, Rens Prebus Triad. I'm sure it's Latin, I just can't pronounce it. And other and other tales from the White House on Facebook. In the meantime, she is a regular actor with the Playground Experiment, the Alto and Madison Avenue Baptist Church, and was recently back behind the kit as part of No Name's variety show house band, The Summer Replacements. You can also find her on YouTube with collaborator Richard Bender,
yes,
as Bender Suze, hashtag Bender Suze, if you will. If that's not enough, we could end the podcast here and everyone would be exhausted and happy we did as much as we possibly could to fulfill the world of Alexandra Suze. But no, we have her here to talk even more about Alexandra de Suze. So please welcome her on Inwood Art Works On Air. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. It's been a long time coming. We were talking off camera. We've known each other for about 20 some odd years. And,
yes.
Lived in Inwood for many years in the Heights and evolved very much. She's now in the Bronx, but we still consider her part of the family here. Her mother-in-law's here.
Yes, my mother-in-law, Elsie Bratcher.
So very much part of the culture here. So, like I said, I think it's safe to say you're incredibly gifted as a multi-hyphenate artist.
Bless you. Spread that word around.
Act, write, direct, host, sing, play drums. Is there anything you can't do? You don't have to answer that question. But, legal reasons, of course.
Yes.
But do you have a favorite amongst the children, so to speak? Performing or
writing? I came here to do musical theater. So singing and musical theater, I think, will always be the closest to my heart.
Yeah.
But, I was lucky enough to, I love plays. I'd love to do more of them. And I found cabaret while I was here. I did my very first show back in 2003. And then, I sort of let it go for a while because I wasn't sure how I felt about the cabaret scene in the city. But it has definitely, it's definitely different now than it was 20 odd years ago.
Was that Late Bloomer?
Yes, I did Late Bloomer.
Yeah.
And I did that in 2022 and 23. And luckily it was successful enough that people are like, when's your next show?
Hey,
and I'm like,
all right.
Have you got the money for me to pay everybody? But luckily I was able to put together Nina and Sarah and Aretha and Alex for this year. And
last fall, right?
Yeah, just last fall. I did it in November at Green Room 42, which is a fantastic venue. And so we're looking to do it again in the spring, and I'll bring it back. 20 years,
a little more than 20 years set between those two. What was the idea for bringing back the cabaret? Besides money, of course.
Oh, yeah.
But other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the show? But seriously though, that's a nice span to go back to the cabaret world and revisit that. So where did the idea for this show come from?
Well, with Late Bloomer, I had to, just before then, I had to sort of take a break from things. And also, I'd been taking care of my mom. I'd been in Massachusetts. And then COVID happened, like right after all of that. And I was like, okay, I have a little money right now. And so many things were happening over Zoom. And I was thinking, I want to do something, and I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was like, maybe I'll put a show together, something. Because I also have like a solo piece. I am that person that's been working on the same show for like 20 something years. It's a solo piece called Single What Female, and I'm going to get back to that again this year as well. And I was like, maybe try cabaret again. I think I was talking to some cabaret people, or I saw a couple of shows. And then I was also coaching with this wonderful guy, James Beeman. He did cabaret himself for a long time, and then went into Shakespeare. Marvelous actor and performer, and he started directing cabaret. And I talked to him about this, and he's like, let's do it.
Nice.
And next thing you know, we started out with one idea, and next thing you know, we had Late Bloomer about being, lady of a certain age, finally blossoming into who I am. And so I got to
star
right away.
So it's a tribute show, but yet a tribute to you as well.
Yeah, Late Bloomer was not so much a tribute, but
right.
Yeah, that was more a story.
The new one.
But yeah, the new one, like, I'd had this idea like even 2 years ago, but I was terrified of it because they're icons. Nina Simone, Sarah Vaughan, and Aretha Franklin. And, I literally just said, I'm like, I don't want to insult the icons, but but I've had that music in me, and these three artists inspired me so much, and I just love their music, and I feel like I know it inside out. It's kind of just in my blood, and so I went to Jamie and I said, dude, I think I got another show, and he's like, this sounds great, and we talked about it, and then of course life was happening, but suddenly we were able to like get everything done and put it together. And I met Dan Pardo, who's the music director for the show. He and James have worked together a long time. For Late Bloomer, I had the wonderful Tracy Stark. I don't want to leave her out. She's amazing as well.
Tracy.
Oh, Tracy's awesome. And she was so perfect for Late Bloomer. Then Jamie introduced me to Dan Pardo for this show. And he brought in a couple of great musicians for bass and drums, and Jamie had a couple of amazing singers, one of whom was part of Dan's show. And next thing you know, we had a show, we had a thing, and
then you have to do it.
Yeah, we actually have to do it now, and it was just fun.
That's great.
It's like that's the whole thing. I just wanted it. Not only to talk about these artists, but also just share this music and have a good time with it.
So you're riding high off of that right now.
Yeah, riding high up of that. I just did. I did a wonderful benefit with Goldie DeVere, who's another wonderful person in the cabaret world, who does a benefit every year for St. Jude's. So I was lucky to be part of that, and I did one of the Nina Simone songs, "My Baby Just Cares for Me," as part of that. So,
any chance bringing it back?
That's right now we're looking at the spring. Like, Jamie's off to do a show, February through April. Okay. So I'm looking at, mid to late April to bring back, Nina and Sarah and Aretha and Alex.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we'll have to keep an eye out for it, folks.
Yeah,
and you should too out there in podcast land. Well, that's fabulous. So going back a step or two, this is where you're at now. Let's go back to where you came from in a way. What was your exposure to performing? Like, did your parents put you in shows as a kid, or like, did you find it through yourself, or like, where did it happen?
Well, see, I grew up in Massachusetts,
yeah.
And both my parents loved theater. My father was a morning man in radio on WBZ in Boston. And my mother had wanted to be a news writer. It ended up working in marketing and radio. But there were cast recordings playing. Like, if there wasn't classical music and opera, there was
Judy
cast
Garland
recordings. Oh my God, a little night music and Camelot and
stuff.
I think the first show I saw live was Annie, and
Hamlish.
Yeah, Marvin Hamlish's Annie. I saw like the tour that came through Boston. Yeah. And I remember seeing Peter Pan with Sandy Duncan.
Wow.
And what was so cool is we saw it in Boston, but we also got to see it on Broadway. And I'm pretty sure that was my first Broadway show.
Big one.
And my father, at the time, he started doing arts reviews. So we got to go backstage, and he went to interview Sandy Duncan in her dressing room. And my sister and I are hanging out backstage. My family are in like, oh, there's the actress playing Wendy, and seeing all the people walk by.
Wow, what experience!
And so, while my parents were not stage parents by any stretch of the imagination, they definitely were making sure that my sister and I saw, a lot of theater. And I remember going to the Nutcracker, and we just saw a lot of different things.
It's important to have that exposure,
Yeah.
Say the world's bigger.
Yes. And in fact, it's kind of funny. I'm taking my sister to see Chess on Tuesday.
Oh, it's great.
And I hope so too, because it's a rare day for me to see an original cast in like the very first production.
Yeah.
So my family, we were
Of this book of it, anyway.
Yes, right. And so back in the 80s, my family, we were on a trip, and we happened to be in London, and these friends of the family said, "Hey, we have these tickets for this show. Do you guys want to go? We can't use them." And there were 4 of them, and there were 4 of us. Hey. So we're like, heck yeah. And so we saw the original Chess in London.
Oh my gosh.
With Murray Head and Elaine Page. And it was the first spectacle I ever saw.
Wow.
Where, because they have the big lit up square on the stage that looks like a chessboard, and it leans up so they could be on the mountain for the mountain duet. And they had all these TV, big bulky TV sets because, 80s. And
Hollywood squares.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so it's like all these sets in the back, and we were just like, this is the best thing ever. I wasn't looking for plot holes and things like that back then. I was 14. My
sister was
a
concept album anyway.
Right? It had been a concept.
Looks ABBA, you know what I mean?
Right? Because I just remember when One Night in Bangkok was this huge hit on the radio.
And it was the only, I think, and isn't there like a record or something like that? I don't know if that was. It's like the first crossover musical theater hit in the top 40,
so.
I think.
Yeah.
I think it was.
I think so. Because I'm trying to think of anything. No, I think that was the first one.
It was, yeah.
I'm sure Michael Dale or someone else that we know. Do you know Michael Dale? Basically, if you need information on theater or baseball, you talk to Michael Dale. He's another good friend of Eric Vedder's.
I'm sure we do know each other.
Oh, yeah. You've probably met him at some point.
Probably played in the softball team together.
Yeah, probably. But it was amazing to see that. So the last time I saw any version of it was Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS did a staged reading, a concert of it with Josh Groban as the Russian, and he was but he was barely 20. And Well,
Nicholas Christopher is fabulous.
Yeah,
absolutely fabulous. Leah Michelle, you get what you pay for, and Aaron Tveit, I think, is also very good. I know some people badmouth him because he was the only guy to win the Tony because he's the only guy nominated in that category that year. But it was COVID guy. Give him a break. It was COVID.
Yeah.
For Moulin Rouge, I believe. But I think it's fabulous as far as if I did not get to go to the London production in the 1980s. I only got to go see this one, but I've heard it being played in every single dressing room I've been in since I was 18 years old, and I am now. So it's really it's a staple, and it's kind of a bucket list checklist musical that does not get done well. It's also a very big musical.
Yes,
it's if you want to stage it, there is all the mishmash of the kind of 80s glory of neon but it kind of does take place in time and space as far as it changes locations quite a bit, and I think you will enjoy it. I'm looking forward to your full review.
Yes,
of all that. So you felt the thrill performing and all that through, great supportive parents, it looks like, and giving you the world as far as opening you up. And you go on to build a very exciting artistic life. What gave you the confidence as a young adult to pursue a life professionally in the arts?
Oh God.
As we all know, it's not for the faint of heart, and it's a path that everyone's paths are very unique.
Yeah, and I just feel drawn to it. There's something about there's so much rejection, right? And
that's without the arts.
That's without, right? There's so
the arts,
right? Just like, and then the arts has its own category
of how many times a day do you want to be rejected?
Right? It's like I just think of like all the auditions you go to and you hear nothing about, and then like. But thankfully this friend has a theater company and we'd love to have you in this.
It's that little piece of, a little carrot, if you will.
Yeah. And it's like, I just remember I was starting to, I got out of college and particularly like my senior year in college, I started, I did murder mystery dinner theater and got out of college and did medieval dinner theater and then worked with a wonderful company. There's the Public with a K. The Public Theater in Boston,
right?
And I did they do classical theater and Gilbert and Sullivan. So I did like HMS Pinafore with them, and I did Pirates of Penzance twice, and and you just like when you're getting the work and you're just like, oh, this is great, and then you're working with really fabulous people and having a great time. And then I was like, well, now I've got to try New York. And there are some people who are like, are you sure? And I was just like, I need to go. I felt like if I didn't, I remember I hit a point, because I was also, I didn't come here like right after college. I came later 20s because I wanted to at least get
I was 27 when I came.
I was like 27, 28 when I came. And I was like, okay, I just felt like if I didn't go, I wasn't going to. And I thought maybe I'll have like a 3-year to 5-year plan, but it can still take a long time. And it was like, I think I was here 4 years when I happened to get into encores at New York City Center. I was part of the ensemble of the New Moon. And that's when, of course, I thought, I'm going to do all this other work. And, of course, then just everything crashes and you're back to working the day job anyway. But there's just always something. And then, people talk about creating your own work if you're not getting a lot of stuff. And
do the work you want to see.
Do the work you want to see. And so I started just, I started work on Single What Female and did readings here and there. And then, I also met Eric, and I was, doing a lot of singing and some storytelling. And I was just, I just felt like as long as I kept moving, kept auditioning. And then I was like, oh, can you do this concert? Can you do this thing? And so it's just, I feel like it's something I can't, it's not even so much confidence. It's just something I know I can't not do.
I think that's the best answer anybody could possibly give as an artist. And I think I faced it myself many times. It's like, if there's something, I think people have said it a number of ways, but if there's something you'd feel better suited to do, you'd like to do, you probably should do that. And then there's the other way,
right.
The other way of saying it, saying there's nothing else I'd rather do. It's like I've asked myself what else I'd do, and I don't have an answer for that. And I think you're in the right place when you have that, that reaction to it.
It's like, I know I can work in an office. It's like, I've answered phones. Yeah. I can, type sort of. And, it's like, and it's like, and I do standardized patient work, which, a lot of actors
saves
do.
A lot of people.
Yes.
It saves a lot. I know so many people who have been on Broadway, have done 3 or 4 Broadway shows, nice long runs like She Loves Me and things like that. Yeah. And they're doing it every single day of the week when they're not on Broadway.
Yes. So, and, it's like, I have a friend she was just doing a show out in Pennsylvania, and she had like a short break. She had a weekend where she was coming to New York for something, and she took a shift at Trader Joe's because she works at Trader Joe's on the side now. And like, this is a woman who's done a lot. She's done tours and off Broadway and all this stuff. And it's like,
got to find what works for you.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to eat. And then Meryl Streep doesn't even work every day, sing of the year, you know, every day of the year. But you know what? She doesn't have to either. But but it's true. But my point is that there's only so much work to go around, you know, and there's a lot more. What is it, like 42,000 equity actors, and like maybe 5% are working any single day of the year, kind of thing. I don't know what the ratio is anymore, and they won't tell you if you ask. But it's like, please keep giving us your money. But membership forever. One of us. One of us.
Yeah.
You know? No, but unions are good too. So I'm not trying to just disperse.
Unions are
they're good things. So. But I wanted to go back to something you said earlier too, and kind of segue into this conversation. You brought it up briefly earlier, is that you know, you've been in New York long enough to see a lot of change in the cabaret you were talking about earlier, and also like, I mean, all these people touch a lot of bases like you. It's like you do some film work, you grab it where you can, you do a day player. You know, we used to have 4 soaps in town when I moved, and they're gone, and you know, and then your Blue Bloods, I guess, Law and Orders, and then you also have, like, you know, obviously Broadway, off and off Broadway, and you know, sketch work and whatever else, and of course No Name and things like that. So can you speak a little bit about, you know, I feel like the world of, like, to me, like, affordability and creativity and opportunity are all like inherently linked in getting the work done, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what do you feel about how New York feels to artists right now?
Oh, wow. I really feel like that depends on the situation you're in.
Of course, teach his own.
Like,
but just generally scoping. You don't have to go. No confessions are necessary. Just you know, but just like, you know, but it's just like, I mean, you know, when you're in your everyday interactions, or when you're on the audition line or whatever, it's like, what's the vibe? How are things feeling?
You know, I haven't been to an in-person audition since probably November, because I was just like, oh, this girl needs to make some money right now. So I was doing a lot of standardized patient work. But I mean, I think for the most part, I'll tell you this, people want to be making art right now, particularly after this past year, and good Lord, coming into this one.
It's been a long year.
And I think, you know, the vibe I'm getting is that people are getting out there and they're auditioning and they're putting work out there. Like, there's this great woman I got to work with in this past year, Rory Nogi. She writes, composes, and of course sings and performs. And she's got 2 full musicals that she's written and directed and produced and acted in. There's I think there's Siren's Den, and I feel terrible, I can't remember the second one that just happened this year. But she's also working on a new one that I got to be part of the table read and a couple of performances called The Impatiens. And, you know, I know she's getting out there, and I know she's auditioning, and she's getting gigs here and there, but she's also going, this stuff still needs to come out. And I feel like I get the vibe people are hustling.
Yeah.
You know, we know there's not a whole lot of work, and we know that that there's still every once in a while you're looking at listings and you're like, oh, there's not enough women for this, or they're not taking people of a certain age, or, you know, it's still, is it all young people? Yeah, a lot of breakdowns. But at the same time, I'm still, when I first came here, like, you know, over 20 years ago, I remember going to auditions, and I always felt like, if I'm the darkest person in the room, something is wrong. And then years later, you know, I have my son, and I take a little time off from going to auditions because I'm like, I'm already up early with my child. And like, you know, I was definitely picking and choosing about like which EPAs and which chorus calls and things like that I was going to go to.
Right.
And I would come in and I'd be like, oh my God, there are so many more kinds of people in here now. And it was exciting. I was like, oh my God, there's definitely more people coming in and feeling that they can get these roles. And I was like, this is fantastic. Seeing Black people, Asian people, Hispanic people and everything. It's fantastic. So I'm seeing more of that. I feel like I'm seeing, going to auditions and seeing, more non-binary people, more trans people, and let alone more people of color. So I'm feeling that's improving, and I'm hoping that definitely stays.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that will continue in our community, despite what certain administration people would like to
Other
change.
efforts, we'll say.
Other efforts, yes. What other efforts there are. So, I feel like there is work out there. There's some interesting work out there. But, yeah, we're all just hustling still,
Yeah. Well, thanks for that honest answer and depiction of the kind of state of the art, so to speak. I always think it's good to check in with people and seeing how they're weathering the weather, literally. It's a lot. And but I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the No Name Variety Show, and people where and Eric and you and your collaborations throughout the years. The No Name and a Bag of Chips, I'd say, is the official moniker, because that's how old I am, knowing the show as well. That tells you anything. It's New York's longest running comedy and variety show. And what has No Name meant to you?
Oh man.
Like a home, right?
It really is. They are a family.
Yeah.
It is a family. I have been doing things in this show. Either, it started with performing when it was at the Common Basis Theater on like 46th Street or something out there, which was on the 10th floor of a dilapidated building in this theater space. The Common Basis Theater was, an off Broadway.
So far off it almost fell into the river.
Pretty much, yeah. And the show was like a midnight show. And I met Eric through a friend of mine. Oh my God, because I met Eric through a friend of mine, and this was like back in like 2000. And so I saw the show, and you could have anywhere from, 10, 15 people to like one. And Eric talks about how one time they just did the show for themselves because nobody showed up. And they're just like, well, let's just perform for each other. But it is that kind of stick-to-itiveness and passion to just keep doing stuff.
Totally.
And, and then it's had various homes since, but we've been at Otto's Shrunken Head on the Lower East Side, 14th between A and B. Let's give it up for Otto's Shrunken Head.
It's a stalwart. It's been around for at least 20 years.
Yeah. And
more probably.
I think actually they've been around, almost as long as No Name has been there.
Okay.
And but they're a fantastic tiki bar. They're just a tiki dive bar. They're great. And we've been able to do a show there practically, I think, maybe since a year or two after they opened. And it used to be twice a month, and now it's first Friday of every month. Mm-hmm. But it's just a good time. It's been a great place, to see emerging comics as well as established comics. Like last night, we had Charles McBee, who's written for Charlemagne the God, and we had Menuhin Hart, who's another really hilarious guy, and like Ophira Eisenberg, who has the podcast Parenting is a Joke and hosted the show Ask Me Another on NPR. And she's like a Moth Grand Slam winner, I believe. And she has come to do storytelling and comedy. Leanne Lord. Yeah. I mean, it's been a great place to just watch some really amazing comedy, but also storytelling and also music, and to watch people, to have it start out as, comedy and variety. And then not long after things started at Otto's, apparently these two guys came up to Eric and said, hey, do you need a band? And so Eric's like, okay. So there were these three guys that would play in the band. And I think the keyboardist, his name is Harold. He apparently played for Sam and Dave.
What?
Yeah, he played for Sam and Dave. And we're like, I'm sorry, what are you doing at this dive bar? But again, like you said, there are people like they do a Broadway show, and next thing you know, they're back, at at Trader Joe's or at the office or whatever until the next show comes along.
And only in New York too, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like
yes.
you have these people where it's like the birds of a feather flock together a little bit too, you know,
Yeah.
it attracts people.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, did I mention I'm a talker? Anyway, so
You inherited your dad's gift of gab.
a little bit, just a little. So, so suddenly there's a band, and sometimes their drummer didn't show up, and so Eric had me play drums with them, and then the guys are like, "Oh, hey, we have gigs over the summer. We're gonna be away," and so Eric got his friend Carl Fortunato to play keys and asked me to play drums. And next thing you know, we were the summer replacements.
Literally
The summer replacements. And then the other people just never came back.
Oh, really?
They just never came back. So
Sam
next
and
thing you
Dave
know,
revival somewhere,
Sam and Dave
maybe?
revival, something. And next thing you know, here we are. And the band started with Carl and me and Eric, and then just evolved. I think the largest we've ever been is like 15 people with a horn section.
Oh my gosh.
And like one of my favorite events was another great comic who's now he's been going to film school in LA. His name is Liam McEnany. He had a podcast called Tell Your Friends, and so he'd had a CD release party, and he asked us to be the house band for the CD release party.
Wow.
And like Jim Gaffigan was there, Ophira Eisenberg, Hannibal Buress, all these amazing people are there.
Spoiled.
Right? And we're just like, what is life right now?
So is there a tour now for the summer replacements?
There should be.
Other than autos, of course.
Right? And like right now it's down to more like 5-6 people, but it's growing again. We're starting to get
Well, Eric's
a few
always
more
talking
people.
about having you guys up. I don't know. Actually, I shouldn't say speak out of turn. You have to ask him about. I don't know how many bands he's in these days, but he mentioned that we have the Alfresco series up here on Dykeman. So having his band to come up and perform sometime, and so maybe it's you guys.
I think that's us.
Maybe we can.
I have a feeling that's us.
I'm just saying it's you guys. I don't care how many bands he's in.
Yeah.
But how many he has on speed dial? But yeah, maybe we'll get you up this summer. Maybe.
Yeah, that would
be kind
be
of fun.
awesome. I would love that.
On a Monday night.
And speaking of the no-name things, because he does have the storytelling shows and comedy shows at Word Up Bookshop.
Yep, uptown here.
Uptown in the Heights there. And then for a good part of my time in Inwood, I did No Name Presents the Uptown Cabaret, which was a workout show for singers and cabaret artists and composers. And I love doing that. I did that at Indian Road Cafe for, I think, at least 5 years, something like that.
Jason Minter.
Yes, Jason. And I loved that place so much. And I was, it was walking distance from my apartment.
So great.
Yeah, because I lived on Broadway between 215 and 216 for a long time before moving up to the Dykeman Street area. But, yeah.
Well, it's still a great place, just changed a little bit. Now, Inwood Farm. It's also, that corner is so beautiful. I mean, it's like the best place.
Yes.
I call it my office away from my office. I'll go down there and have meetings at 8 o'clock in the morning because you can actually talk there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like you can actually,
yeah.
But they got rid of the piano, so there's no more chance for cabaret unless you bring in your own keys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember that. That was good bastion of great things happening at the New Road Cafe back in the day. The cafe, as we affectionally still call it. Us who were there, believe it or not, on day one of the New Road Cafe. So yeah, I was there and still in my heart. But well, we need another cabaret scene up here. Maybe there's a few cabaret singers, obviously, but there is a few in this neighborhood, and maybe we can strike up something up here again.
Yeah, because that's one thing we were hoping to bring back because. I mean, you're talking about how there's no piano there now. Yeah. It's in a residential building, and so that's one reason, Jason was basically restructuring, and it had I just remember the 2015, we had a terrible winter, terrible winter, and I think there was a severe lack of business because nobody was coming down that icy road down there, And also they were wondering about noise. They got complaints about noise from people above. So they were slowly eking out. They were sort of weaning away from music at the time, I think, or having live music there.
Right.
But I would, Eric and I were talking about bringing it back somehow, and like we did a couple of pop-up things with our accompanist, marvelous Mark Olesko, who's also the drag queen Lyra Vega, and we like when they had the pop-up pianos.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and in Woodhill Park, like we did a couple things there.
Well, let's talk about it. Maybe we can figure it out up here. You never know. There's opportunity. Speaking of opportunity, what's next for you directly after this? Not today, but besides lunch. But what's happening with you in 2026?
I'm available.
There you go.
For work, actor, singer, writer. I'll play drums.
And where can they find you? Do you have a website?
They can find. I do have a website. That is alexandradesuse.com. But actually, next thing coming up is the church I sing at, Madison Avenue Baptist Church.
Cool.
I've been part of a sextet there for, my goodness, I think this July it'll be 18 years. And our music director is like, you guys need a concert. So we're doing a concert of just, showing ourselves off.
Nice.
So we're doing that on January 22nd. It is a Thursday night. I believe it's 7 p.m. Madison Avenue Baptist Church, which is on Madison between 30th and 31st.
Gotcha.
And my friend Richard Bender and I, we do mashups. And so we'll be doing, we sing together in the church choir as well. And so we'll be doing 3 of our mashups there and doing some solos as well. But I mean, it's an amazing collection. Like this group is a stupidly talented group of people. I mean, there's opera singers and musical theater people. So it's just a really nice group of people who can sing many different styles. And I think it's going to be a really good show. So we're doing that January 22nd. Hopefully I have my cabaret, an announcement about that in the spring. I'm hoping to do another reading of Single What Female. And then right now, Audition Madness is happening, so I'm, starting hitting the EPAs and things like that, and go from there.
Like I said, you're multi-hyphen. You're making it happen. Well, Alex, it's been a pleasure having you back here in Inwood, and thanks for taking the time today. Is there anything else you want to talk about we haven't covered? I think we hit all the bases.
No, I think we totally hit all the bases. Thank you.
Bring it back to a baseball reference to make everybody happy. Well, thank you again for coming on board here and back in the hood. We're glad to have you. Your passport's been stamped. You're welcome anytime you want. So again, I want to thanks Alexandra de Suze for joining me on this Artist Spotlight episode of Inwood Art Works On Air. It's where we meet the musicians, writers, theater makers, and artists of all stripes to make their home here in Upper Manhattan. If you have, and also Bronx, we'll say. If you have a moment, please show some love right now and rate and review this podcast, Apple Podcast. It really does help. Many thanks to Good Shepherd here for hosting us, and to HeightSites.com for uptown promotional support. Hey, you can support On Air. Yes, you right there. I hear you.
Yes, you can.
Make a donation, please, if you would. InwoodArtworks.nyc/donate or via Venmo at Inwood Artworks. It's 100% tax deductible. We greatly appreciate your support. Be sure to follow us on social media at Inwood Artworks to keep up all that we do, which includes the Inwood Film Festival, Filmworks Alfresco, live performances, pop-ups, and so much more. Be sure to also remember, give love where love is due. Inwood Artworks is supported in part by public funds from the New York State City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council. And Inwood Artworks programming is made possible by the New York State Council on the Arts with support of the Office of the Governor and the New York State Legislature. From the top of Manhattan and bottom of my heart, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Aaron Sims for Inwood Artworks On Air.